Alright. When Pokemon ruled the world.
If you remember link cable battles with your friends, praying you'd pull a shiny Charizard from a booster pack, and
So right
shouting
there.
Pokemon names at your
Yeah.
TV, then you were there when Pokemon ruled the world. And on this, the franchise's 30th anniversary, we're going to take a look back at that magical time in the late 90s that saw Pokemon take over our TV, console, and cinema screens before spilling out onto toy store shelves and school playgrounds, all to the chagrin of our poor parents and their wallets.
Here to get some Pokemon thing.
But first, let's set the scene. By this point, the origin of the Pokemon games has pretty much become folklore amongst the fandom, so I'm gonna keep it brief. As a young boy growing up in 1970s Japan, Satoshi Tajiri loved collecting insects. Decades later, now an aspiring game developer, Tajiri noticed kids playing.
It's still so weird hearing Ash in the Japanese, because I know it's in sub, like his name is Satoru Satoshi, right? Yeah, Satoshi. It's still so weird hearing it instead of Ash, because like Ash is just so iconic, Satoshi, yeah. It just feels so weird.
Insects. Decades later, now an aspiring game developer, Tajiri noticed kids playing Game Boy with link cables and imagined insects crawling along the wire between the two systems. Tajiri successfully pitched the idea to Nintendo and spent the next 6 years developing Capsule Monsters, a name that would eventually be changed to Pocket Monsters due to trademark issues. And it's really fascinating to look at some of these early Capsule Monster design documents, like this sketch of a store where you can see the monsters in cages and jars, or the early Pokeball design with the button on top. However, some elements like the town map and battle mechanics have pretty much been there from the start. But I must say they made a terrible mistake not including this gorilla with a hat as part of the original 151. And speaking of creature design, it's really interesting to look at these early sprites by Ken Sugimori, the godfather of Pokemon design. Some monsters look pretty much the same as their final versions, whilst others look downright bizarre. We've got Sandworm Gyarados, Thick Spearow, and this deflated Venusaur. Ugh, don't do drugs, kids. The original Pokemon games were delayed multiple times and nearly pushed their development studio Game Freak to bankruptcy. But eventually, Pokemon Red and Green would be released in Japan on the 27th of February 1996. Nintendo didn't have especially high hopes for the games at first. After all, they were launching on the Game Boy right at the end of its life cycle. This meant that Red and Green weren't immediate overnight hits. Instead, their popularity grew slowly through word of mouth. Rumors of the hidden Pokemon Mew spread through schoolyards and magazines, while the link cable trading mechanics gave players a reason to replay the game and share experiences with friends. As a result, sales began to build towards the second half of the year. That momentum was pushed even further by the launch of the Pokemon trading card game in October of '96 and the release of the enhanced Pokemon Blue version shortly after. By the end of 1997, Japan was in the throes of full-blown Pokemon fever. With the anime and manga now in circulation, the games went on to become the best-selling titles of the year, surpassing even Final Fantasy VII. By this point, licensees in the US and the West had taken notice and were keen to get in on the action.
You've been selected to receive the sneak peek about a phenomenon called Pokemon, a hit TV show, a Game Boy game, and loads of other cool things that are about to take America by storm!
4Kids Entertainment snagged up the rights to the anime and quickly began to dub and edit it to coincide with the impending North American release of the games. In fact, the English dub of the anime would debut exactly 2 weeks before the game's launch on September 9th, 1998. This would act as the first phase in the seismic marketing push from Nintendo and its licensees.
It all starts.
Yeah, the dub for the original Pokemon, like peak I fear, absolute cinema. they did that one so well. Can't imagine what it's like being one of the few who were the first to be around Pokemon's early days. I know, right? Like, just imagine, like, you're just like chilling, then all of a sudden, like, word just starts spreading about this new thing. Then everybody starts picking up a Game Boy just to play Pokemon.
With the TV show September 7th. My nephew, Ash, he just turned 10, is the show's star. His dream is to become a Pokemon master. Oh, that must be the Pokecar. And be sure to watch out for it, too.
Pokecar?
10 Pokecars will be cruising around giving away lots of free stuff.
Yo, Pokecars giving away. This would not slide today. This would not slide today. Yo, this is a thing that you could only experience in the 80s. True, like, compare how the anime was from season 1 to a later. You can see the difference? Yeah. You really can.
You can track where they are on your computer. www.pokemon.com.
The Pokemon anime was an instant hit here in the West. It was the perfect introduction to the world, the lore, and the creatures. Now, this is just my opinion, but I honestly think that the anime arriving first is one of the main reasons why the franchise became as big as it did in the West. Pokemon Red and Blue are some of my favorite games of all time, but let's be honest. The creatures in these games were crusty, mostly motionless pixel art paired with a screechy low-fidelity cry. Some of these early designs were also just straight up weird or unsettling. You had Tony Soprano Blastoise, Machoke who's having a stroke, and Geodude rocking a perm. The anime cleaned up the designs and brought the Pokemon to life. They had personality, they had a voice, they were real characters that we got to know. And in turn, we projected those characters back onto the tiny game sprites using our imagination. And yes, the anime was absolutely a marketing tool designed to sell games and merchandise, but those first 2 seasons still had some genuinely great episodes and moments. From Ash meeting Pikachu in the very first episode to saving Charmander, watching Caterpie evolve, then saying goodbye to Butterfree, battling Lieutenant Surge and Pikachu refusing to use the Thunderstone, and of course Charizard versus Magmar. But it wasn't just about the battle, some of the most memorable episodes were basically filler. The Island of Giant Pokemon, the surfing episode, Goodbye Pikachu, Meowth's backstory. And at this point you're probably getting ready to write a comment to say I've missed your favorite episode. But that's kind of the point. The original run of the anime is packed with classics and everyone has their own favorites. And speaking of video games, Pokemon Red and Blue would come right on the heels of the anime, releasing in North America on the 28th of September 1998.
Where can you catch all 150 Pokemon?
What the hell?
On your Game Boy, that's where. Pokemon for Game Boy is here. With both packs, you can catch them all. Games and systems sold separately.
Now, if you're
Not gonna lie, that was kind of a peak commercial. Honestly, X&Y is when the anime became its most anime it's ever been. I agree. X&Y was my favorite. I loved X&Y. I miss Goba's old sprite. Real. Although I did not experience the rise of Pokemon in the late 90s, it does remind me of the time I experienced Beyblade got big, seeing one of my neighbors' friends in their own Beyblades to show. I actually have Beyblade somewhere. I don't really remember, but I did have them. What was it called? Uh, the best anime for Beyblades in my opinion was Metal Fusion, Metal something. Can't remember. These game commercials were amazing back then. They were. Play days. I remember those old days of yesterlore. Yeah.
part of that original generation, then you still remember standing in the store trying to make the hardest decision of your young life. Would it be Pokemon Red or
All three
Blue?
were
Remember the ride
amazing.
back
Yeah.
home, opening the box and looking through the instruction manual? And top marks to the design team for presenting the manual like an in-world trainer's guide written by Professor Oak. The cover had that leather-bound look about it, the pages had taped-on notes and clipped-on memos. It felt like an invitation to a whole new world, a journey across the Kanto region,
Pokemon's just so
collecting badges
peak.
from gym leaders like Topless Brock, Big Booty Lieutenant Surge, and Mr. Clean. Along the way, you get
Mr.
pulled into
Clean.
adventures like helping a furry enthusiast escape his costume, robbing an old man's back in exchange for a CD, and engaging in a bit of underage gambling in a casino run by an organized crime syndicate, which you then dismantle single-handedly. Now, it's easy to forget now, but the original games had a surprisingly open-world feel. Sure, the early sections were linear to ease you in, but once you got the Silph and cleared out the Pokemon Tower, things opened up. You could head down to Route 12 towards Fuchsia, swing west and bribe the Saffron Guard with a drink, or coast down the cycling road. Yes, the trainer card listed the gyms in order, but the game never forced you to follow it. Talking with friends at school, you'd realize everyone had taken a slightly different route. I had one friend who beat the game without realizing that HM Fly even existed, and that was all
That's
part of the fun.
crazy.
Another reason why the games became as big as they did was because they were a double threat, blending battling and collecting. Neither one was a side feature or a mini game to the other, they were both equally as important. On top of that,
True.
locking a handful of Pokemon behind each version was a genuinely brilliant move, which allowed Nintendo to sell two versions of essentially the same game. And once you tied it all together with link cable
And they still
connectivity,
do
Pokemon
that.
was elevated from something you'd play in the car or at a family gathering into a genuinely social experience.
So you can grab a link cable and a friend with a Game Boy, and with both game packs, you can catch them all. Got ya.
It's the
Neil
latest craze
Peak
since the
commercial.
Rubik's Cube, and today thousands of children from across the Northwest had their Pokemon dream come true. Today, fans of the Japanese computer game and card craze Pokemon were able to download the 151st character, Mew.
We arrived at 7 o'clock this morning. We left at Liverpool at 6:30.
By the end of 1998, Pokemon was already the hot item for that holiday season. The anime and the games alone had done more than enough to fuel the hype, but the toy lines pushed it into overdrive.
If you guys don't know what Pokemon is,
Oh,
you
yeah,
are
like,
well, you're in need of
stuffies
some
and
serious
stuff.
remedial
Oh
toy
my God.
education.
I actually have Sylveon back there, by the way. I have Sylveon and I have Pikachu. And I love them. On this Make Me Wish I was born 4 years earlier. Fair. Maybe a few more. Sid would be an infant still then. Fair.
Hasbro had acquired the license for Pokemon toy production in the West, and they started by importing lines from the Japanese manufacturer Tommy. These would be repackaged and marketed as Poke Blasters and battle sets. You'd also get these Poke Bouncers, which were bouncy balls with Pokemon trapped inside, and then a handful of larger talking Pokemon figures.
Pokemon Ball Blasters, Battle Figures, Power Bouncers, and Talking Pokemon, each sold separately from Hasbro.
Oh, and by the way, if you want more nostalgic content like this, then check out my book, Loading Screens and Memory Cards. A look back at growing up gaming in the 90s and 2000s. Please see the banner up top or the video description for details. And now, back to the video. And so, going into 99, Pokemon had established itself as the next big thing on the three pillars of anime, games, and toys, but there was one more piece of merchandise that was yet to make its way from Japan.
This is a Pokemon strategy card game.
Okay,
Playing this card game can help you finesse your Pokemon training skills.
Wizards of the Coast would acquire the rights for the cards, and just like Hasbro, they started by localizing the Japanese cards as the base set.
And there's the Pokemon cards are still huge. Like, people buy them up. And there's so many now that, like, there's, like, genuinely just rare ones. Like, you'll basically never see at this point.
Kids absolutely ate it up. Remember going around to a friend's house and slowly flicking through their binder, admiring that shiny Charizard? The thing that always stood out to me about the original cards were their art style. Some would have the standard Kensugimori design superimposed over a random background. Some would have the Pokemon rendered in 3D. And some of these would have a dedicated piece of art of the Pokemon in their natural habitat. Now, of course, in addition to collecting the cards, you could also use them to battle. And to teach kids the rules of the game, Wizards of the Coast put together this promotional VHS, which is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. So, you get these segments where the kids teach you the rules of the game, that makes sense, but they're intercut with this skit where young Joe Goldberg from You teaches a class of adults how to play Pokemon.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been trading Pokemon cards for a long time, and I almost have all of them.
Okay. Yes, during the break, I traded for a Vaporeon.
Is it a good deal to trade a Vileplume for a Nidoqueen?
In addition to that, the VHS is also filled with these quintessentially 90s black and white segments where the kids talk about their life and Pokemon cards. Eventually, the video transitions to another segment where this teenager teaches two parents how to play the card game. And the producers of this video decided to go with the all adults are clueless morons angle.
Pokemon is a smart game, but I think even parents can learn how to play.
Seriously, if you want to play a drinking game, take a shot every time the girl says something very simple and the parents, especially the dad, look at her in bewilderment.
You can't look at the prize cards until you win one, and the first player to get them all wins the game.
I mean,
I remember I used to have a bunch of ones from years ago in a box, but back in 2017, I had to move, and I did something stupid, and that was to get rid of them. No! Hey, ads! I love ads! I know, right? They're the best.
Come on, look, this guy's probably a doctor or at least a regional sales rep. I'm sure he can work out how this children's card game works.
You sank my Pokemon.
It's an interesting strategy from Wizards of the Coast. After all, they knew this tape would be watched exclusively by kids. Hey kids, look at how stupid and incompetent your parents are. Now go ask them to buy some Pokemon cards.
So instead, attach the energy card to your bench Diglett.
Excuse me, what Diglett?
Your bench Diglett.
There also seems to be a bit of adult tension and innuendo in this video, if you know what I mean.
Staryu, slap, 20, feel the pain.
See, your cards are your cards. His are his. Actually, what's his is mine.
Also, as the skit goes on, I genuinely start to feel bad for the dad.
Attack with Seeking and put 30 damage on Machop.
Sorry, honey.
It's okay. Just a game.
Oh, no.
And so, with its four main pillars firmly in place, the great Pokemania of '99 was now in full swing.
What replaced Beanie Babies in the hearts of the young? The most unlikely fad, Pokemon. And Pokemon is now in full mania.
This could be this year's Christmas boom.
This is going to be one of the hottest selling toys for the holidays. This is a talking Pikachu.
Pokemon has captured the imagination of children around the world and billions of dollars from their parents' wallets. It's now so pervasive, schools have banned Pokemon.
This new craze, Pokemon,
they started banning Pokemon
platforms.
That's all they're wanting now is pure Pokemon. We haven't sold any yo-yos or Star Wars merchandise in a long time.
I'm here to get some Pokemon things.
Do anything for our kids.
We do not bring Pokemon cards to school.
We expect this to probably be the biggest success in the toy industry's history.
At this point, we're up to about $7 billion.
Can probably guarantee you there's another year and a half to this craze. It hasn't even peaked yet.
And Nintendo, along with their licensees, knew it too. To keep the momentum growing, they would seemingly release something new every single month in '99. June saw the release of Pokemon Pinball alongside the Jungle set of the trading card game. In July, Pokemon made its Nintendo 64 debut with the spin-off Pokemon Snap. By September, the Indigo League came to an end, immediately followed by the Orange Islands arc. and October saw the arrival of Pokemon Yellow. It was an incredible time to be a kid, but looking back at it now as a grown-up, I really do feel sorry for our parents. How on earth were they supposed to keep up? What? You want a Nintendo 64 now? But you've already got a PlayStation. What the f*** is a holographic Charizard? How many rubber balls do you need? So let me get this right. A new game looks and plays exactly like the old one, but it still costs 30 quid.
Out of control and showing no signs of...
It's insane how Pokemon is the most profitable business in the world, and yet they didn't spare a penny to hire more people. Game Freak, please. No, actually though. Let's go ban them. Too bad no one listened. Wow. Remember back in school, a bunch of us had brought in cards and out DSs to play Pokemon, and the schools didn't like that, so they banned them? That is so dumb. Like, me and an ex-friend of mine, he used to bring, his literally just a Switch to school, and we just play Smash Bros and stuff. And other random games. I never knew their brothers had a network. Yeah.
slowing down. That is the Pokemon phenomenon that has parents praying for an end to it all.
What was life like before Pokemon?
A lot calmer. We're still, little by little, learning how to deal with the cards and the t-shirts and them just wanting everything of Pokemon.
But of course, this was all just the ramp up for the main event.
Finally tonight, it's the biggest thing from Japan since the Power Rangers. Pokemon is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and the movie makes its debut nationwide tomorrow.
In November of 1999, Pokemon would hit the big screen with Mewtwo Strikes Back. It all started the moment you first saw the advert on TV.
Movie.
You begged your parents to take you while they shook their heads in disbelief. Oh, another Pokemon thing to buy? Waiting in line for the cinema was insane. You were surrounded by fellow kids vibrating with sheer excitement. And that was before we even got the Mew card. The buzz in the theater was unreal. You could feel it, thick enough to cut with a knife. And then the movie started. The new rendition of the theme song was incredible. Kids would point at the screen and shout, "Who's that?" seeing the Don fan for the first time. Every time a Pokemon would appear on screen, at least one kid would make sure to shout out their name, followed by a prompt shh from the parents. And of course, all of us and even some of the parents would cry with Pikachu when Ash was turned to stone.
Be forewarned, if you haven't been already, the hottest thing in the 12 and under set is coming soon to a theater near you. Pokemon the movie joins Pokemon the video game and Pokemon the trading card as must-sees and must-haves.
The upcoming Pokemon the first movie recently caused such a frenzy that the switchboard at Warner Brothers was flooded with 70,000 calls a minute from people desperate for tickets.
The first movie debuted at #1 in the US and went on to gross over 172 million worldwide, cementing what many saw as the absolute peak of Pokemania. A moment further affirmed that very same month when Pokemon made the cover of Time magazine. The accompanying article was a prime example of the disconnect between the children and parents of the time. It leaned heavily onto the moral panic, painting the franchise as little more than a capitalistic endeavor with passages such as, "Is Pokemon payback for our get-rich-quick era, with our offspring led away like lemmings by Pied Poker pipers of greed? Or is there something inherent in childhood that Pokemon simply reflects?"
I heard one reviewer called it cumbersome and insipid.
But not to the kids. See, that's important. And this film isn't made for critics or parents. It's made for the kids who are into this. And so you should respect it on that level.
Absolutely.
But it probably is insipid. It
well,
probably
that's not taking anything away. I mean, a lot of adults don't get this.
Sure.
At this point, Pokemon had become so firmly embedded into pop culture that it was being parodied by mainstream American shows.
Squirtle, I choose you!
Oh, nah. That's just a torch coming out of his tail.
Actually, I have a rash and it hurts when I squirtle.
But the franchise itself showed no sign of slowing down. From the tail end of '99 straight into 2000, Pokemon maintained an enormous cultural presence in the West. Burger King rolled out an incredibly successful line of Pokemon toys and trading cards.
Now at Burger King, limited edition toys and trading cards from Pokemon the first movie. One inside every tasty Burger King Big Kids meal you buy.
They even introduced the now infamous gold-plated Pokemon cards. Unfortunately, these Pokeball toys would end up causing a controversy.
The ball may pose a suffocation hazard to children under 3. Throw the ball away or return it to Burger King.
Around that same time, Hasbro acquired Wizards of the Coast, giving it a monopoly over Pokemon merchandise. Plus, they also had the Phantom Menace line earlier that year, making '99 an absolutely insane year for the toy company. Hasbro would continue to release new waves of battle figures and bouncy balls, but they also began moving beyond the simple Tommy imports, creating original Pokemon merchandise of their own. This included the Electric Pokedex. Hasbro would also introduce the battle figures.
Blasting, flame-throwing, vine-whipping action. A real display of Pokemon power. Pokemon. Charizard, Venusaur, and Blastoise, each sold separately.
There was also the Battle Arena. We also got the Talking Pikachu.
Wanna catch a real live Pikachu? With this new electronic Pikachu, you can command Pika power like never before. New I Choose You Pikachu. Batteries not included.
Pikachu would also get his own micro-pet handheld known as the Pocket Pikachu. And lastly, there were the Pokemon Sliders.
Pokemon Sliders! Extreme rolling action now comes to Pokemon!
The magic's in the ball!
Train your sliders for battle with Pokemon Target Training. Then choose your best slider and compete in the Pokemon Battle Zone as you smash your way becoming a Pokemon Master.
I'm getting
Pokemon
so distracted just looking. I'm like
all.
zoning out,
And that's
looking at
just
them.
the toys. On the video game
Yo,
side, Pokemon kicked off 2000
brain
strong with the
enjoying
North
these
American release of Pokemon Stadium, which finally let fans battle in full 3D. That momentum continued with the release of Pokemon Puzzle League, Hey You Pikachu, and the Game Boy version of Pokemon the Trading Card Game. 2000 would also see the launch of the touring musical known as Pokemon Live.
Think you know your Pokemon? Meet Mecha Mewtwo, the most powerful Pokemon ever. What attacks does he have? All of them. See Mecha Mewtwo versus Mewtwo, plus Mew and dozens of your favorite Pokemon live in a rockin' on-stage adventure. It's not just a game anymore. It's real-life action. Get a free Mecha Mewtwo jumbo card with each ticket.
And of course, that year also saw the release of the franchise's second theatrical outing, Pokemon the Movie 2000, or The Power of One. And this thing even got its own hour-long live special on the WB, which consisted of musical numbers.
So you want to be the master of Pokemon, understand the secrets and have some fun. So you want to be the master of Pokemon, do you have the skills to be number one?
Cal from Kenan and Cal screaming at the audience.
I love how
And a
so
public
many
service
people
announcement
loved it.
from some random celebrities.
I think it's important that young people today realize that they really do have the power to change the world.
The power of one is in you too.
The film opened strong in the US, but ultimately went on to make just around half of what the first movie earned at the box office. Some would point to this as the first sign that Pokemania was finally starting to cool off. However, a whole new generation of Pokemon was already underway in Japan. And in October of that year, Pokemon Gold and Silver would be released in the US. But that's a whole other story for another time. For now, I think it's best to end this video here. Don't get me wrong, I love Generation 2, and Pokemon would remain a massive cultural force for years to come. Some would argue it still is, but those years between 98 and 2000 represent Pokemania at its absolute peak, a time when Pokemon rule the world. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see a second part where I explore the Generation 2 years, let me know in the comments below. Also, leave a comment with your thoughts on Generation 1, your favorite memories, toys, games, and which original sprite freaked you out the most. As always, thanks for watching. Please consider supporting me on Patreon, and a big thanks to my existing patrons. If you've enjoyed this video, then please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you.